Hey guys, what's up? Yeah, I apologize if I seem a little out of it. I just got off work about 2 hours ago and just got home about just about an hour ago. Actually, about 51 minutes ago. Actually, just got in the door 51 minutes ago. It'll be an hour, way over an hour after this video is done. But yeah, it was my first full day, 8-hour day, if you will. And I'll say this about working on the floor of the distribution centers and everything, where I'm at right now. It does make the time go by fast. And depending on where you are, you don't really have a clock in your face. I mean, you do have one off in the distance, but not like in your face or anything. But yeah, it did make the day go by fast, and then tomorrow's gonna be like the real full day, on the floor. I mean, basically this was the first full-fledged day, 6 to 2:30, and but basically it was mostly just, like the first part of it, like the first hour, if you will, hour and a half, if you, well, not hour and a half, but the first. Yeah, I would say about first 2 hour, almost hour and a half, almost 2 hours, first 2 hours, if you will, was in the orientation classroom, watching videos and meeting the leaders and all that, and yeah, that was about it. So after that, we went to the floor, got trained. Still going to be doing some training tomorrow, maybe back in the classroom again. We'll see. But yeah, I can tell you, even for that short time on the floor, which it did feel like it went by fast. Whew. Now I know why my sister told me it's going to feel like you walk 10 miles. Because it does. Mostly on your thighs and everything. But it does help, build your muscles and everything. So, I'm just happy to be working again, that's all. But what I'm really here to talk about is all in London. And mostly what's come out of it, because there are numerous reports out there about what happened afterwards. And it's like, it seems that AEW, it's like for every positive they have, especially in the case of All In, there's always going to be a negative to counter that. And it's like, they just can't catch a break when it comes to these kind of scenarios. So with that said, let's talk about All in London, shall we? Let's talk about that. Okay, so I didn't watch 0 Hour, but I did hear about it. And I did hear about one moment with one of the matches on 0 Hour that we'll talk about, after I talk about the card. But apparently 0 Hour really just got people at Wembley Stadium and watching at home, in the mood for this event. So, that was good on AEW's part. The fact that we have and the fact that they crowned 2 new champions there, which was really cool. We have Hook once again, the FTW champion, and then you have Better Than You, Baby, Adam Cole, and MJF as the new Ring of Honor tag team champions. Beating Aussie Open. So that's kind of cool. We'll see how long they run as champions, because if what we got in the main event is any indication of what could happen, something is really going to be, shaken up on screen when it comes to, AEW, start with this story in a way that people probably won't expect. But besides that, let's talk about the official pay-per-view card. We started out with, and what's kind of ironic is, the match order of all these matches, how they went. So we start off with CM Punk and Samoa Joe for the real World's Championship, the real AEW World Championship in CM Punk's case. And these two had I'll put it this way, these two had a very physical, stiff match. But, it seemed like Joe, for most of the match, was dominating. And it took CM Punk pulling out his first major finisher, the Pepsi Plunge, basically a top rope pedigree, to beat Samoa Joe and retain the title. But yeah, it was a very physical stiff match. The next match after that was the 6-man tag with Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and Kota Ibushi versus Bullet Club Gold members Juice Robinson and Jay White, and Kanishka basically, I can't even pronounce his name right now. I do apologize. Takeshita, Kanishka Takeshita, with Don Callis, at his side, and this was a good 6-man. It was back and forth. And in the end, Takeshita did end up pinning Kenny Omega with a roll up, but he held the tights to win the match. So as a result, we found out during the media scrum, the post press conference, or the post All In London press conference, that we're going to have Takeshita versus Omega at All Out. So that's going to be pretty cool. And then after that, we had the Young Bucks taking on FTR for the tag team titles, and this was a good match, really good match. The meshing, I don't know what it is, but these two teams, in the meshing of their different ring styles, they always seem to have good chemistry when it comes to that. And it was back and forth. It definitely looked like at times the Bucks were going to win, but in the end, FTR won. And what's interesting is FTR extending their hands, for the Bucks to shake out of respect, but the Bucks, they didn't want to do it. And I think it's not because they didn't want to. I'm sure they would have if FTR wasn't, tied friendship-wise to CM Punk. I think if CM Punk was not in the picture, they probably would have, shook FTR's hands. Then we had the Stadium Stampede match. I think that was what was up next. And this was between the Blackpool Combat Club, Wheeler Yuta, Claudio Castagnoli, and Jon Moxley teaming with Pride and Powerful, who apparently are not so on the same page, as everybody thinks, but are willing to work together, and that being Santana and Ortiz, and they took on the Best Friends, Chuck Taylor, Trent Beretta, and Orange Cassidy, teaming up with Penta El Zero, who came out later on as Penta El Zero, and Eddie Kingston. And this match went everywhere. It went into the bar area at Wembley Stadium. It went up to the top steps, balconies. Basically it was violent. It was violent beyond belief. You had Jon Moxley trying to use skewers on Penta, but then Penta turned the tide, put them on Moxley. You had barbed wire chairs involved. You had Orange Cassidy towards the end of the match taping up his fist, but putting the tape in reverse to where whatever he puts on it sticks, and putting his hand into a bucket where he basically smashed a bottle of glass. And obviously it had to be a sugar bottle of glass, but he broke it and put it on his hand, and then towards the end of the match he nailed Claudio with it to get the win. But Eddie, his main thing was he wanted Claudio. And, basically just like before when Eddie was involved in Anarchy in the Arena, Eddie, and he came out, all bloody with gasoline and everything in his hand. Basically, this time around he came out with a barbed wire chair. He hit Claudio in the back with it. He was going to do it again, but John stopped him. And Eddie was just like, okay, screw it. The only way I'm going to get you out of the picture is to spear you into a barbed wire board, which he did, which allowed Orange Cassidy to hit a glass-filled Superman punch, on Claudio to get the win. So, obviously, they're still building on this Eddie Kingston, Claudio Castagnoli feud, rivalry, and everything. Obviously, we got to know. We got to know exactly what's going on with Claudio, what's going on with Castagnoli. You know, I mean, not Claudio, not because I'm sorry, like I said, I'm tired. I do apologize. But Eddie and Claudio, we got to find out. We got to find out, like, what is it that Eddie has against Claudio that Claudio doesn't want to admit to? We got to figure that out. We got to figure that out. We did have the Fatal 4-Way for the Women's Championship between Saraya, Toni Storm, Hikaru Shida, and Britt Baker. Good match. Obviously, there is tension with the Outcast because Toni Storm apparently needs to be a champion to keep her sanity. Because apparently, after she lost the title, she's gone off the deep end. So obviously, she needs a championship. And, well, that's not going to be the case now because Saraya, believe it or not, is the new women's champion. And everybody is happy about this. Everybody has said that this is just proof that never say never to somebody like Saraya, or even to an extent someone like Edge, or even a Daniel Bryan, who you say will never be able to do what they love again, but yet here they are doing it, and by doing it they actually accomplish what something even more, and that's becoming a champion, and that's what Saraya did. What's interesting though is Saraya came out to "We Will Rock You" by Queen. She came out with her family, including the original Saraya Knight, and everything. So, which is her mom. So obviously, you knew that out of any of the Outcasts involved in this match, which was herself and Toni Storm, Saraya was going to be the de facto babyface, and she was. She was. And what happened is that both tried to go for the pinfall. And so, and it's like Saraya's like, "What are you doing? Let me win this." And and again, the storyline with Toni is she's lost her mind. She's gone cuckoo. And basically, it got to a point where Tony's like, "Hey, I'm still on your side. I'm still on your side, and I'll prove it." To where, during the match, Saraya Knight had Saraya's mom. I think that's her name, Saraya Knight. Maybe it's Sarah Knight. Sarah Knight, I think it is. I'm not really sure. But Saraya's mom was holding, I think it was Britt or Hikaru. I don't know who it was. But she was holding them for Toni Storm to hit. And Toni Storm, as she's whirling back, ends up hitting Saraya's mom instead. She doesn't stop like, whoa, 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 whoa. After, I think it was either Hikaru or Britt that ducked, she didn't stop. She just went bam. And Saraya saw this and she got pissed. And her mom wanted to get at Toni Storm. So, yeah, obviously there is dissension. I'm guessing whoever is booking the Outcast storyline, they're realizing, yeah, this isn't really working, at all. Obviously this is, not going according to plan. So maybe it's best we just break you guys up. And, that's what it looks like they're doing. That's what it looks like they're going to do. Unless Ruby, because Ruby Soho tried to come out to basically, put peace between them and make them understand, hey, it doesn't matter who has the title as long as we have it, right? But what happened is Toni Storm ends, because again, storyline-wise, she's not all there. Toni Storm ends up hitting Ruby Soho, and Ruby just leaves. She's like, screw this shit. Screw this crap. So obviously, here's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Storyline-wise, Ruby and Saraya are still in the Outcast. Because some people think, oh, Saraya's out of the Outcast. Because the way Saraya won is that Britt had Hikaru Shida in the lockjaw, for the tap out. And Saraya ended up basically spraying the green spray paint in Toni Storm's eyes. And then hitting her with Nightfall, which originally was called Rampage. And she ends up winning the match. Now, again, what's interesting? Now, again, like I said, what's interesting about that is she's the one that's put the green she's the one that put the green spray paint in Toni Storm's eyes. So one would think, she would be out of the group because she did this, and essentially she's the de facto babyface and became a babyface out of this, right? Nope. I think what's going to happen, in my opinion, is the Outcast is still going to be a thing, but it's going to be Toni Storm that's going to be on the outside looking in unless she gets some help. That's what I think they're heading for. I think the storyline will be, hey, you want to stay in the group, Toni? Get your mind straight. Get your mind together. And I think that's what's going to happen. Like, accept the fact that you had your run as champion. Now let Saraya have hers, and let me be, the TBS champion, because that's the title Ruby's going to go after. So, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Saraya is the new champion. We also had Sting and Darby Allin against Christian Cage and Swerve Strickland in a coffin match. Good match and everything. And just like with the tag match, it got you guessing as to who was going to win, towards the end. But in the end, Sting and Darby Allin ended up winning. And what I did like about this is at the beginning, you have this little vignette of Sting and Darby, on the streets of London, kind of cosplaying a little bit like Watson and Holmes, right? And then as soon as that's done, all of a sudden you hear this. Basically, Tony Khan got back Sting's old Metallica, entrance music from WCW. That's what he did. Seek and Destroy. That's what it's called. He got that. I was like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, that's Sting's old WCW entrance or music. He has his own music from WCW. And I just loved it. And everybody else heard that too. But yeah, in the end, Sting and Darby Allin win by putting Swerve in the coffin. And yeah, it was a good match. And it does set up, more of tension, or more story and tension for Luchasaurus and Darby Allin this Sunday at All Out. Now, with that said, the next match was Chris Jericho, Will Ospreay. Jericho sang himself to the ring thanks to his band, Fozzy, sang Judas. Ospreay came out and everything. And what's interesting is to build upon the story that was already being built upon this on Dynamite over the past 2 weeks, is you had Jericho show up under a mask, a callback to the first All In, where he attacked Kenny Omega after Kenny's match with Penta. And Jericho, again, under a mask, comes out, during the Rev Pro anniversary show the night before, and attacks Will Ospreay. And even the announcers were like, as soon as they, saw the Code Breaker and then the Judas Effect, or the Code Breaker basically, first they're like, oh, it can't be. He takes his mask off, and they're like, it is. It's Jericho. And then he hits Ospreay with the Judas Effect. So to help, further along the story, here at All in London. And it was a good match, despite how people may have felt about this being a match that Ospreay was going to have instead, was going to have with Jericho instead of with Omega. It was a good match, and in the end, Ospreay ended up winning clean. Don Callis, who came out to ringside with Ospreay, did not interfere, because Jericho came out with Sammy Guevara, and in the end, Ospreay won. He won the match. And what's crazy is Guevara actually interfered behind the referee's back more so than Callis did. So, in a way, Jericho was kind of like the de facto heel, even though he was wrestling more like the babyface. So, Jericho ends up losing. And then what happened afterwards is Sammy tries to help him to his feet, tries to give him a hug, like, hey, it's going to be all right, just one loss. But Jericho shoves him aside and then walks off like, this could be it. Like basically he's got to contemplate, is he probably exactly what a lot of fans and critics say he is? Like, maybe his time is done and he needs to hang it up. We'll see. Then we get to our main event. I don't know if I missed any matches here. I don't think I did. I don't think I missed any matches, guys. Let me double check. I don't think I did. Yeah, I don't think I did. Let me check. I want to make sure. Go to Wikipedia here. I want to make sure. So, okay, talked about Punk and Joe, talked about the 6-man, talked about FTR, talked about Stadium Stampede, Saraya, Darby, Will. Okay, so we don't get to our main event yet, but we do get to Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed defeating the House of Black. That's right. The House of Black consisting of Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews with Julia Hart, who came out with a lantern to pay tribute to Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda. And all the fans, as soon as it got dark, and Nigel McGuinness even brought it up, that the Fireflies were out. They were out and about. But yeah, this was a good match. It was no holds barred because the House of Black house rules when they were defending the titles is the opponents can name the stipulation. And basically, basically the Acclaimed got to choose no holds barred, or Billy Gunn did, who came back as badass Billy Gunn, not daddy ass. And it was a good match, and in the end, Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed become the new Trios champions. And you have the House of Black take the belts away from them, only to hand them to them out of respect. Like, hey, you did what you said you were going to do, you've earned our respect. But what's interesting is Julia Hart, throughout this match, tried her best to intervene, basically try to make sure the belts wouldn't leave. She even pulled out Aubrey Edwards and got in her face and goes like, or something like that. So, obviously, if there is any repercussion here because of the loss, it'll be at the hands of Julia Hart, who I think has become more corrupted than the House of Black would have wanted. But yeah, Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed win. They do a Sesame Daddy moment, which the Acclaimed promised they would do at All In. And that's about it. Then we get to our main event, MJF and Adam Cole. And this match was more about the story of a friendship between Maxwell and Adam, more than the title. But it was good. I mean, both men did prove that they will pull out all the stops. They will pull out all the stops to become champion. They will break any rule they can. And it seemed basically Adam Cole was playing more of the heel than MJF, which was kind of a surprise. But there was a lot of moments to where it's like, would MJF go back to his old tricks, use the dynamite, the diamond dynamite ring, if you will, or the dynamite diamond, if you will, to win? Would he do this? Would he do not? Would he tombstone Adam Cole on the announce table? Basically MJF was playing up the conflictedness of, he's being accepted now as who he is. He's being accepted not just by the fans, but by Adam Cole as a friend for who he is, and everything, a scumbag and all that. So he doesn't want to ruin that. He doesn't want to ruin that. So we had a couple of moments, to where you didn't know what was going to, happen, who was going to turn. We had a false finish where both went with a double clothesline, did a double pin. Adam Cole's like, no, can't end this way. Maxwell, we need 5 more minutes. MJF's like, no, and you're thinking he's going to back away, and he says, but then he goes up and says, no, Adam, 5 more minutes is not enough. These people deserve a winner. We'll go in a full-fledged 10 or until there's a pinfall or whatever. Basically until there's an actual winner, I think he said. And that's what they did. And out came Roderick Strong. Roderick tried to get Adam Cole to, use the belt, to do this, to do that. Adam would not do it. He would not do it. And it basically did cost him in the end, because Maxwell ended up rolling him up clean for the win. And it did look like there was going to be a breakup, a dissension at the end, and all that. To where Maxwell's like, he's thinking, oh, is this what it's really about, the championship? And he throws the championship at him. He throws the AEW championship at him. And he's like, he just turns his back and everything, just like Adam Cole did to him a couple weeks ago. And here you have Roderick Strong coming back out saying, use the belt, hit him. It looks like Adam's going to do it, but Adam can't. And instead he just turns Maxwell around, they hug, and they end up remaining friends as the show goes off the air. And again, the storytelling is what really helped this match out more so than anything, in my opinion. And everybody has agreed with that. Like, the match was good. You know, the match was good, but the storytelling is what really, you know, elevated it to that next level. It really did. So, yeah, you know, they're still friends. They're going to remain as as friends, as the tag team champs. However long that's going to be, we do not know, but we'll see. But it does look like if somebody does turn, it's going to involve Roderick Strong and the Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. And a lot of people are saying that if, you know, well, not saying, but a lot of people are looking at the fact that, well, Adam Cole has history as part of the Kingdom back in Ring of Honor and in the Indies and everything. You know, he has history with Roderick Strong in NXT as part of Undisputed Era. So it's like, you know, who's he going to side with? You know, who is he going to side with? He's going to keep being friends with MJF? Or is the Kingdom and Roderick Strong going to convince him, hey, this is where you belong. We'll help you become the champ you need to be. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Or will Roderick Strong help, you know, them form a new kingdom along with Maria? We'll have to see. But, yeah, it was a good match. Really good match. And can't wait to see, what they do with this down the road as we go into All Out this Sunday. And mostly as we head into Full Gear. Because I guarantee you, we go into Full Gear, that is when you're going to get your answer as to whether or not Better Than You, baby, stays friends, stay tag team champions, or we're going to have a backstabbing. You know, so we'll see. But overall, I thought the show was good. I do have to tip my hat, if I was wearing one of my hats, to AEW for selling out Wembley Stadium and getting over 81,000 plus in there, mostly 82,000, we should say. But I do know some people will be critical. Like, some people will say, well, how do we know they did 81,000 plus or 82,000 there? You know, actually, how do we know that? Because when we look at the panning shots, sometimes we see these empty sections and everything. And look, you know, just because you saw empty sections doesn't mean they weren't filled. Because as we saw during the Stadium Stampede match, you know, they had to be empty because there was going to be some, some competitiveness, some fighting up there, you know, with the with the participants in that match. So obviously, so obviously you can't really say it wasn't completely sold out. Maybe those seats did get filled up later on, and everything by some of the audience and everything, because there was audience members in the concession areas during that match, watching people like Claudio and Eddie fight out in that structure or fight out in that area. So whether or not it was an actual sellout or it wasn't, they have nothing to be ashamed of. Actual worldwide record attendance, that they set, whether you believe that or not, that's up to you. Whether they're inflating it like WWE does, that's up to you to believe. But no matter how you look at it, that is impressive no matter what. It is impressive. It really is. And one of the big news factors that came out of that is you had Mercedes Moné, a.k.a. Sasha Banks, in attendance, sitting there, and she got showcased a lot during this. From 0 hour to the end, she got showcased a lot. So it does feel, and there are reports by Fightful Select and others that she is in talks, negotiations to appear, not be officially signed full time, but to appear probably down the line for AEW. How and when that will be, we'll have to see. It could be tomorrow night on Dynamite. It could be this Saturday on Collision. We'll see. We'll see, but it seems that she is going to be working with them soon. Maybe not as a full-time roster member, but someone that will show up when needed. Now, speaking of other news that came out of it, during the press conference, not during the press conference, but towards the end of the show, Excalibur did announce, and it became official, All In London is coming back next year on Sunday, August 25th, which is my mom's birthday next year. So yeah, they are coming back to London for All In again. At Wembley Stadium, which I guess they're now going to make into the WrestleMania. That's going to be their WrestleMania for the year. Like, WrestleMania is in the spring for WWE. All In's going to be AEW's WrestleMania during this, towards the end of the summer. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But what's kind of an asterisk as well to that is, just like this year, it's going to go back to back with All Out. So just like this year, you had All In this past Sunday, and you're having All Out this Sunday. They're going to do the same thing next year. But what's interesting as well is that during the press conference, Tony Khan announced that they are going to have another pay-per-view in Seattle called WrestleDream, which was originally a New Japan show name that I think the late Antonio Inoki came up with, and that is why Tony Khan's doing it. He wants to do it as a tribute to Antonio, and apparently you're going to have participants from New Japan, as a part of it as well, which means we're going to get Okada, Tanahashi, Sonata. We're going to get them all. Now, what's interesting is later on in the day we had Impact Wrestling's Emergence iPay-per-view, IPPV. We had that. We had Emergence. And it was at the end of Emergence they announced Will Ospreay's going to be at Bound for Glory. So basically, and here's the one thing about Impact. Doesn't matter if it's WWE or AEW. If there's anybody that used to be part of the company in some capacity, almost instantly they will put up a match of them or a best of video on their YouTube channel, their social media channels, to capitalize off that. So here they're capitalizing off the fact that, okay, Will Ospreay got the biggest victory of his career, one of them anyway, in front of the biggest crowd he's ever been in, and been in front of. He's got the biggest victory of his career over Chris Jericho. TNA, now known as Impact Wrestling, said, okay, we're going to take advantage of that and say, oh, by the way, folks, Will Ospreay's going to be a Bound for Glory. So there you go. Those were the announcements made by Tony Khan, and by extension, Impact Wrestling later on at the end of their show, to coincide with the success of All In. Now, unfortunately, though, there was news that came out of All In, and even during All In, and even before the actual show itself happened, and everybody's been talking about it, and there's been conflicting reports about what's been going on. But during the 0 hour, during the Jack Perry Hook match, because Hook, it was under FTW rules for the FTW Championship. Basically, anything goes. Anything goes. Pinfalls count anywhere, whatever. And they were fighting near a car, and Jack Perry, after I don't know what he did, he suplexed Hook or something onto the car, or something. He pats on the glass window of the front of the car. He pats on it, looks in the camera, and says, "Hey, we're real glass. Cry me a river." And this was intentionally a shot at CM Punk. And why it was a shot at CM Punk is because there was an altercation about a month ago or so at Collision where Jack Perry let it be known he wanted to, because I don't know if it was during his feud with Luchasaurus or with Luchasaurus and Christian or something, but he let it be known he wanted to use real glass. He wanted to use real glass to basically take himself out because he had requested time off, vacation, whatever. But I guess he didn't get it, or something happened. And CM Punk got on him and said, "Dude, that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea." And it wasn't just CM Punk that got on him, but so did the doctors and other people. They said, "No, man, you can't do that. It's not a good idea." So obviously Jack, not happy with CM Punk, basically, being the boss when he really isn't, what Jack could or could not do, decided to take a shot at Punk by saying that, and then allowing himself to be suplexed onto the window. This, of course, caused an altercation between him and Punk backstage, where again the conflicting reports are either Jack Perry stepped up to Punk and got choked out for it, or Punk took a swing at him and everything, just back and forth. So what happened is that apparently both ended up being suspended. But again, it's conflicting reports. You have Sports Illustrated and Brian Alvarez saying they were both Punk and Jack Perry were suspended. You have other people like PW Insider saying they're not. You have Fightful Select saying stuff. It's just conflicting back and forth. And like I said earlier, for every positive this company has, there's always going to be a negative to counteract it. And this is that major negative. And it happens not even a year after the media scrum brawl out. So it's like, what is going on here? And there are reports of CM Punk saying he hates this place, referring to AEW, threatening to quit, telling Tony Khan he's going to quit, having to take a train back to his hotel because nobody wanted to ride with him or stuff like that. Nobody was at the stadium to greet him from the roster. Just all kinds of crazy reports going back and forth here. And Tony Khan basically did acknowledge that something did happen, but they want to make sure they gather all the evidence. But again, this is where Tony Khan needs to step up to be a boss. I will agree with that, because you can't just act like a fan and be like, yeah, I heard, and basically the only thing you're going to say on it is, yeah, we did hear something happen, but we'll let you know more about what happened when it does. And then you have all these conflicting reports coming out of, they've been suspended, they've not been suspended, Jack Perry's been suspended, Punk's not suspended. Jack Perry got sent home, which he actually did when Punk got to stay, at the stadium, It's just, it's just like, somewhere in the middle is the truth. Somewhere in the middle is the truth, and hopefully we will find out. But, the obvious question a lot of fans have, and if anybody has, is why doesn't Tony Khan, do something about this? Why doesn't he just come out, put his foot down, to Jack Perry and CM Punk, let them know, hey, I'm the boss, you do what I say, and everything, and I say you stop the squabbling right now, and put this to rest before you both lose your jobs. People wondering why he doesn't do that. Why doesn't he stand up and be a real boss? And even confirm, yeah, this did happen, and we're going to see, or we're going to look into it and find out who's really at fault. It's like, what is going on here, right? And I think the reason is, and I'm sure people might agree with me, maybe not. I think the reason is, that Tony Khan doesn't come out and say something, is he doesn't want his company to look Bush League. Especially coming off one of the biggest attended events in the history of AEW, if not the history of pro wrestling. They don't want to come off as Bush League, and everything. So he's not gonna come out and say anything, to where it makes him look like he can't control or run his own company. Because if he comes out and says something, again, like I said, it's gonna make him look like, it's gonna make AEW, I should say, look Bush League, despite the success they had on Sunday. So hopefully we get a straight answer before All Out, because people are expecting CM Punk to be at All Out, because All Out's going to be in Chicago at the United Center. So, Tony Khan, he's got to step up and be a real boss here, because, again, I understand you don't want your company to look Bush, look minor leagues, Bush League, look like a t-shirt company like everybody, including Paul Levesque, has called it, despite its success. You don't want it to look like that, and you don't want to make it look like you can't control your company or run it properly. So you're not going to say anything directly. So all you're going to say is, something did happen and we're looking into it. But here's the thing, Tony, and everybody will agree with this. By coming out and saying, "Hey, something did happen, and we're going to look into it. We're going to give you more information down the line." you know, coming up with that excuse, despite what was already said, you know, and talked about even during the event, it's like, just, you know, just be honest with just be honest with your people. That's all people. That's all anybody asks. Just be honest. You know, just be honest. You know, and say, yeah, you know, Phil Brooks and Jack Perry got into an altercation, and that's all I'm gonna say for right now until we figure out who's at fault. That's all you have to say. But because of that, you know, now you have to put an asterisk next to All in London. You know, yeah, it was a success. Yeah, they said, you know, an attendance record and everything. But now you have to put an asterisk, you know, next to it because of what happened backstage. And because of what happened, now both men are suspended, possibly, or not. We'll have to see. Again, conflicting reports, you know, are making this company look more Bush League than they should, especially after the success they've had. But anyway, though, guys, I just wanted to come on here. Like I said, I'm sorry if I feel like I'm out of it and everything. Like I said, I worked today, but I want to finally do a review on All In London, and as well as to give my thoughts on the announcements for its return to Wembley Stadium next year. You know, the announcement of WrestleDream, in October. The announcement, I wanted to give my thoughts on Impact Wrestling, taking advantage of Ospreay beating Jericho to announce that at the end of this show, Ospreay is going to be a Battle for Glory. And also give you my thoughts on what's going on here with the whole CM Punk Jack Perry situation. So,